everybody. Welcome to TMI Project's first period power performance. We are so excited to have you here tonight. I want to welcome all of you who are here and to our online audience. This is being live streamed for anyone in the world to see. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here. Is there anyone here who's never been to a TMI performance before? Oh, awesome. I love that. That's so good. So for those of you who are new or tuning in and have never experienced one of our performances before, we are a true storytelling organization, and we help craft and amplify the true stories of everyday unsung heroes. And we always get them to include the TMI parts of their stories. And we identify that as the part of their story that they usually leave out because they're too ashamed or embarrassed. So, of course, periods are like the ultimate TMI. It is a perfect match. You know, you'll see a slide go up for one of our latest podcast episodes called Kat, Rain, and Tina the Tampon Lady. And I encourage you all to subscribe to the TMI Project Story Hour. By the way, we just won the International Women's Podcast Awards in London. It was an incredible experience, and we're also just so thrilled that the stories that we're creating here in Kingston and in the Hudson Valley are reaching people all over the world now. And one of the things I said in that episode was, you could have not paid me $1 million to stand on stage and tell a story about my period. I wouldn't even go to the nurse's office and ask for a pad. Like, I would not have talked about this. So think about that as you're listening to these brave young people. Before I get started, we just have a few people to thank because we never do this stuff alone. I want to thank the Senate Garage for hosting us again in their beautiful space. I also want to thank Rob Goldman from the I Matter Project. He's here. Rob, where are you? Raise your hand. He's right there. He's the founder and the photographer of the I Matter campaign, and he captured our storytellers so beautifully. If you haven't seen them, there are huge, gorgeous photographs hanging on this side of the building, and I encourage you to go look at them before the evening is over. And we also have to take a moment to thank our sponsors. They are the businesses that are putting their money where their mouth is, so please take a listen and support them too. Toyota Prestige in Kingston, Hudson Valley Credit Union, Center for Creative Education, Wild Earth, Nuvance Health, Stewart's, Hamilton and Adams, Hawthorne Valley, Repco, Ulster County Tourism, and Tilda's Kitchen. We are so grateful to every one of them. And we're also incredibly grateful to Hudsy and Radio Kingston for making us look and sound so good. I'd also like to give a shout out to our internal team, Blake File, Ray Lipkin, Laura Rocco, who's managing our online audience tonight, as well as Riley Gibbons and all of our volunteers and our board of directors, some of whom are here, who support our work all year round. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll just tell you that tonight you're going to be hearing 9 true stories from the students and faculty advisors of the Kingston High School's Period Power Club. If you're feeling a little confused about why young people would step on stage to talk about their experience with menstruation, that's okay, because tonight you're going to have a chance to learn about period poverty and all that the Period Power Club is doing to combat it. We'll have a special treat for you in tonight's lineup. Tina Dierna is the chair of the Period Power Club, and like the true leader that she is, she took the workshop alongside the students, and she's going to start with her story tonight. She's amazing. Give it up for Tina Dierna. After she shares, we're gonna screen Hudsy's short documentary on the Period Power Club. that'll let you in a little bit on their history, and then you'll hear from the amazing group of students and the powerful youth activists. But for right now, I would like to bring two very important people to the stage, the workshop leaders that helped bring these young people through the last 10 weeks of their workshop to help write and craft and edit and perform their stories, Rain Grayson and Dara Laurie.
Hello, everybody. Hey. Thank you, Eva. Tonight's performance is truly a labor of love from the Period Power Club. These students were originally inspired to come up here and tell their stories after attending our after volunteering, at Stories for Choice last year, a night of true storytelling for reproductive justice that happened right here in Senate Garage on January 22nd on what would have been, should have been, the 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. The students were so deeply moved by the stories they heard, they wanted to tell their own. So we got busy. We got to work, we made it happen, and for the last few months, Rain and I have been working with this awe-inspiring group of students, truly, taking them through writing exercises, editing process, lots and lots of read-throughs, practice, the whole enchilada to get where we are tonight.
And I just want to say that these students have big goals after this performance. Yeah, ones we are committed at TMI Project to helping them achieve. So tonight's performance is just one of the ways TMI Project and Period Power Club are working together to help eradicate period poverty. Their goal is that their stories will culminate in a video collection, a special series on the TMI Project Story Hour, our award-winning podcast. And a book. All of the content will be used as educational resources, creating a blueprint for schools across the country to do the same. Our hope is that we will come together as a community to help bring their vision to fruition. So stick around after the show. We're gonna have a brief 10-minute Q&A with the storytellers at the end. You'll have a chance to ask them anything you want, and I promise you, after you hear them speak, you're gonna wanna talk to them. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage the fearless leader of the Period Power Club, Tina Dierna.
It all began in a janitor's closet. Well, not exactly. It started with a clothing cabinet at Kingston High School. Well, actually, let me back up a little more. I'm 8 years old, driving with my mom through the center of town in her mint green minivan. She pulls up to the Rite Aid and asks me to run to get a plastic bag from the store. When I return, she lifts herself up out of her seat and asks me to put it under her. Even though she's wearing a pad and probably a tampon, she's worried she might have a bleed through. Ugh, my poor mom. I feel her shame and embarrassment. 3 years later, when I get my period right before the start of 6th grade, I wonder, am I going to survive this? As the only female on an all-boys competitive sports team, I already have to work harder. But now, my period sets me even farther apart from my male teammates and my competitors. I refuse to show defeat. Some days I'm so exhausted when I get home from practice, I crawl right into the laundry basket and cry. Something about the pressure of the basket helps me with the pain, both physically and mentally. When I hit an emotional bottom, I retell myself of the story of Tina, the miracle baby. I was the baby who was delivered from her mother's belly at an emergency C-section. I'm the baby who was immediately separated from her mother, who is struggling to survive. and flown by helicopter to the nearest neonatal intensive care unit. I'm the miracle baby whose father carried her at a done run until he reached the doors of the helicopter pad, where he was forced back by the hospital personnel who brought me aboard. I'm the baby who survived having shit pumped from her lungs, the one who wasn't supposed to live a normal and productive life. I've heard this story throughout my life, told by all of its storytellers, my father, my mother, my aunts, and grandparents. I've replayed this story in my head so many times, and always at the end of each telling comes the famous line, "You're the miracle baby." At some point, I decide that Miracle Baby isn't just a story, it's who I am. It's a gift I get to share with others about overcoming the odds and succeeding anyways. It's a title, a badge of honor, and maybe, just maybe, a state of being. Like, I can't just waste this life. I have to push myself to create as many miracles as possible. Which brings me to present day, living my best activist life in the janitor's closet. I mean my office at Kingston High School, where it all began. I'm hired in 2015 as a cohort social worker, following a group of students from 10th grade to their senior year. As the school is being renovated, we social workers discuss the need for our clothing cabinet to continue. When I transitioned into a new role and a new office in 2018, I asked for more donations and grabbed some garment racks. Someone calls my place a thrift shop. I'm a little insulted at first, but it gets me thinking, what if we had a free store, not just for clothes, but for all the students' needs? I co-lead a free food pantry with the food service department, and that's when the project really takes off. I get all sorts of requests. How about household goods? What about cleaning supplies? And can we get more soap? What about the conditioner and shampoo? One day, the school nurses asked me if I have period products. My intern, Becky, does some research and learns that New York State Public Health Law 267 calls for all elementary and secondary public schools in the state serving students in any grade from grade 6 through grade 12 provide feminine hygiene products in the restrooms of school building and buildings. Such products shall be provided for no charge to students. Why are there no period products in the schools? A group of students come to me and tell me they want to form a period power club. One afternoon, we're all sitting on my office floor, excited to just be putting together these boxes for a period product drive. The principal walks in and asks, "Wow, what's happening here?" I joyfully blurt out, "It's for Period Power Club." He just turns around, puts his hand up in the air, and walks out. I feel small, very unsupported, and so do the students working on this project. I can see it in their eyes. But we use this moment of rejection to light a fire under their feet, and with the free store taking off, we set the boxes up. We advertise the drive and get excited all over again. By the end of the drive, we have received one measly box of period products. The feeling of rejection returns. It feels like no one cares. We're not good enough. Deep-rooted feelings that come from being marginalized. But I am Tina, the miracle baby, badass woman, tired of being pushed to the side, ready to fight for myself and others. I use my anger and frustration to fuel my fire, and before I know it, I'm ablaze. I'm the pyromaniac of periods! Red embers aglow. I will not stop until change is made. I'm done protecting a system that is broken. We write lots of emails. Becky works on an open mic night event to give space for people to talk about their period experiences. At the end of the day, can we just get some period products in the bathroom? We want to record our open mic night. We reach out to Hutzi and meet Angel and Natasha. Woo! They decide that a documentary about 5 menstruators is just what our community needs. For the first time, we feel seen and valued, like we are enough, and our words have meaning. We are important. What started as a closet full of discarded clothing has turned into a movement. Period power is more than just the stories of these students here tonight. Their stories are fuel to our fire. Eradicate period poverty and end period stigma for everyone. Tina, the miracle baby, all grown up. Tina, the tampon lady, won't stop here. Until we have one. If you have kids coming and knocking on your door asking for you to show up for them and you don't over and over and over again, then what is the message that you're sending them? I know that there's schools out there that definitely have menstruation products in bathrooms, but our school is not one of them, and it hasn't been for a long time. I think when there was, they were even empty. I had sent out a full-on email blast to every school district within Ulster County, to all of the school counselors, to the social workers, to the school psychologists, and said, hey, let's start a period drive. I didn't get a single response from anyone, and that infuriated me.
When Miss Narina came to me one day saying that we were going to have a period power club, to me, I was thinking that there should have been change from the last time I was in high school to now, that period stigma shouldn't be a thing. But then as I was doing research and as I was looking up websites, and I couldn't believe the fact that there was so much period stigma still in today's world in 2021, 2022 now.
This is the basket of goodies. It's full of all kinds of different period products, just different things that anyone might need or want during their cycle.
As you're doing this, talk about how you've never used
Yes.
tampon.
Okay. So basically, I've never used a tampon before, so this is going to be an experience of me first opening one, because I'm very scared of them. Like, I don't know how to do it whatsoever. I've never opened one, so.
And uncomfortable. And you open it on this side.
The products that the schools get for free are awful, and I like to say somewhat barbaric, because cardboard is really uncomfortable. And I remember the first time I ever put a tampon in me and it was cardboard, I felt like it was cutting myself up, and it was torture, and I never used a tampon after that.
This is the one that the school provides for us. It feels crunchy.
When surveying our students, we realized a lot of our students didn't have access to period products. And some don't come to school because they don't have access to those products. It's impacting not just their grades, but their mental health.
Everyone's kind of avoiding it until they're forced to, and they're kind of pushing it to the side, saying that it's something that people who menstruate can deal with on their own.
And that's just going to lead up to you bleeding in class, all over your pants. It's extremely embarrassing situation to be in.
There might even need to be like assemblies, and these teachers are grown adults, so it is kind of weird that they may not understand that you should just let someone go to the bathroom when they need to. Like that's like the bare minimum, really.
And we found that we're like not alone. We linked up with period.org, which is a global organization. Getting their support and their backing, we've become the first chapter in Ulster County to really be able to advocate for our students. We shouldn't have to hide about our bodies, nor should we make it be this embarrassing topic and this taboo thing to discuss. So I think just embracing the change and discussing it before it happens so they're aware.
I was in 4th grade when I got my first period. I was around 9 years old. I was living with my dad at the time. I was really scared. I thought I was dying. I thought I had cancer or something was wrong with me and that my whole body was just failing. I had no support system, no education. I felt ashamed and I couldn't really express my emotions to anyone. I had no teachers, no one really there. Most of my teachers were males. So I just felt like if I told anyone, it was shameful and that I had to hide it.
As a parent, I think it's really important to embrace like this change of body. There's hair growing down there and you smell and you need to shower, and having all of these conversations with your young child is really important. And so when their period comes, it's not like this embarrassing thing that's happened to them, and it's something that you're in a journey with them. You need to be a part of that journey so your kids are really comfortable in coming to talk to you about it. And if you come at this with an approach of like, this is normal, like we're gonna normalize this, I'm gonna talk about it openly, and it's not gonna be a gross topic that you don't discuss at the dinner table, or that when you're out at the grocery store or the pharmacy and grabbing pads, you're not like putting it underneath, the cart and hiding it.
What's interesting is that the girls like share very similar stories of what I had when I was a kid, and when of my friends' stories. Like we all share the same stories of going through this awkward stage in life of getting a period because of the lack of information and knowledge.
I learned about what a period was in like 6th grade, I'm pretty sure. They separated the boys and the girls between the gym classes. It was one period, and they just gave us a little lesson about like the vagina and what a period is basically, and that was really it. So.
Did you get that gym class education eventually?
I don't know. I never got it. It didn't happen at my school.
It was probably 10 minutes, and then the rest was about birthing, and then they were showing babies coming out, and all the class members and students were like, ew, that's gross, I can't watch that. But I think it was like just a brushing of 10 minutes about periods, and that was it.
I did think it was a problem that they separated the boys and the girls, because I think that boys and girls should be learning about both. It just helps with like being educated basically, and I think that's what you go to school for, right? So.
I do remember that we were learning about PMS and periods, and I remember this one student who was a male went up in front of the class and did a presentation about why men get PMS.
Do you feel there's any relationship to the tampon and sex?
I have never thought about that. I have to think. I honestly don't even know what to say.
I think there definitely is a stigma against using tampons as a young lady. Everyone I've talked to who menstruated earlier than most, they've told me that their parents, and even now, their parents don't allow tampons. Some parents think it's dirty, some parents think that it's ruining your virginity. There's reasons behind it. There's religious reasons. I think a lot of people just think they're too young for it, even though sometimes it's better for them.
So I guess like that's what it looks like. And I feel like I've seen like things where you put it there, like you put it in like that, and then you take out like that part, or maybe you don't.
One's huge. It feels giant.
Oh my goodness.
And then
Not foam, but it's some sort of like it's also kind of like a cushy thing, I guess.
I provide hygiene products, shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, toothbrushes, toothpaste. I used to even have a clothing cabinet, but that became a little too much. I think when we hear other people say like period products or food, and it's like, why aren't these products included in things like TANF and SNAP benefits? Like, why can't an impoverished family go ahead and use their benefits to buy period products? Why isn't it accessible to everyone? Why is there no baseline normal here?
Coming from a family of a single mom with 4 kids, trying to support her kids through, she was cleaning off to the side, and that was the whole reason why I didn't want to tell her that I had my period, because I was nervous that she was going to have to buy period products, and that was the expense out of her paycheck. So I can only imagine in families who, at the end of the day, have 2 options, and one being buying period products for their child, or on the other hand, save that money and buy food for the table and for the children.
I don't buy the tampons, so that's not that much, but pads are super expensive. And I've had to go shopping with my mom before, and they just get more expensive every single time we go there.
My mentality was that I was a burden on her, and I guess I could see that that would make other people think that they would be a burden, and then they're ashamed. And you know, where it's like, this is natural, this is our body, but because period products are so expensive too on the market, you have these options, and it's a harsh reality.
I have a vision and a dream, and that's to change youth and to work with them and to care about them in a world where there's so much that's forgotten.
Oh, man. Whew. Can we do that again? One more round of applause. That's so inspiring. Okay. All right, so you've seen some of our storytellers tonight, and you're going to meet the rest in this glorious cast, and I'd like to invite our storytellers to come on down. Woo!
All right, let's hear from them. So when we introduce all of our storytellers, we have a TMI Project tradition during our workshops, and it is to always share one thing you can't tell by looking at me. So as we introduce everyone, we're also going to give them their one thing we can't tell. So to get us started, we're going to start out with Zaisha Little. One thing you can't tell by looking at her is her favorite food is broccoli pizza drizzled with ketchup. Welcome to the stage, Zaisha Little.
That's good. Controversial take I know, but ketchup. I'm 9 years old and I can't understand what's wrong with me. My tummy hurts so bad and there's so much blood everywhere. Now my favorite My Little Pony underwear is ruined. My pants are dirty and bloody, and the blood isn't stopping. I've always been a good kid. When you're the firstborn daughter, the princess, the angel, you have to be a good kid. Even as a baby, I didn't cry much. I just fussed until I got a passy or a bottle. I was a good eater. I didn't complain much. I barely even drooled. And now I can't stop asking myself, why is this happening to me? I sit on the toilet freaking out. After a bit, I start to calm down. I remember hearing my mom complain about ruining her pants. I remember hearing my aunt cry every month about pain and randomly get mad at me for everything. Then I remember my mom's mini sticky diapers that me and my sister would play with. I start going through the cabinets looking for them, but all I can find are spray bottles and stinky cleaning supplies. But then I see it. A colorful box all the way in the back of the cabinet under the sink. I grab it and open the seemingly brand new box. And I was right. Mini sticky diapers. I take one out. The only problem is, where the heck am I supposed to put it? I look at the instructions on the box. It has pictures that show me what to do. But I don't even have clean underwear to put on. And I'm not touching my bloody My Little Pony underwear with a 6-foot pole. So I do the simplest and quickest thing I can think of. I grab a bunch of toilet paper and wrap it around my hand at least 20 times and position it as a barrier between my pants and my profusely bleeding vagina. Then I grab a handful of those sticky mini diapers and shove them into my pockets. As I start washing my hands, I hear a knock. Panic rushes through me. I hear my father ask, "Are you okay?" I most certainly am not okay. But I say, "I'm almost done," grab even more toilet paper, my stained underwear, and I wrap it up like it's some sort of Christmas present. Once I'm sure it's completely covered, I put it into the mini trash can by the toilet. Then I throw a single sock on top of it for good measure. I wet my hands and spray some random air freshener. I wait a while before I put the pads into my backpack and change clothes. Somehow, I've successfully avoided any suspicion and I've gotten through the day, but I'm still very confused. I have no idea what is happening to me. And on top of that, I'm nervous that I'm going to bleed through my pants again and my dad will find out. I just don't understand. I don't get in trouble at school. I pass all my classes. I do the dishes. I help clean out. My brother, on the other hand, he constantly drooled as a baby. He cried and fussed. And don't even get me started on how he peed everywhere. He was awful. So why am I the one being punished? Why is this happening to me? I'm 16 years old now. Little did I know I would be hiding my period for months. My mother eventually found out, but it was humiliating. I was caught red-handed, literally and figuratively, and now had to deal with the consequences, getting the talk. It was not a good day. However, I do wish I came forward with the information earlier. I could have avoided months of feeling constantly anxious and scared. But I'm sharing my story now, though. So all the other kids out there who got their period at a young age never have to feel that way again.
you, Saisha. Okay. Oh. Our next storyteller is Siobhan Birch. One thing you can't tell looking at Siobhan is that she has 4 sisters. Let's welcome Siobhan.
I'm in 7th grade when I get my period for the first time. I go through the entire school day without knowing it started. I get cramps, but ignore them because I think it's just a stomach ache. I ignore the feeling on my bus ride home while waiting for my sister at the bus stop and the walk home. When I finally get to my house, I go to the bathroom for the first time all day. I look down and see it. The blood is brown and there are little clumps. When I wipe, the toilet paper is covered in the same brown stuff. I remember my sisters telling me that when I do get my period, the blood will most likely be brown. Deep down, I know it's my period. But here's the problem. I'm a big overthinker. I reread my texts a million times before I send them, and I spend hours color coordinating what I'm going to wear to school. I'm such a big overthinker, in fact, that I find a way to overthink getting my period. What if I didn't actually get my period? What do I say then? Oh my God, what do I do? I convinced myself that I didn't actually start my period and that I have somehow shit my pants. I'm so afraid my sisters will make fun of me, I don't tell them. I don't even change my underwear. Panicking, I make a deal with myself. Okay, Siobhan, if the brown stuff is there again tomorrow, I'll tell one of my sisters. Sure enough, I wake up the next day and the blood is still there. So I follow through with my plan and tell one of my sisters. To my dismay, my younger sister runs to tell my older sister that I got my period. I am so mad at her. But why? Why am I mad at her when we talk about periods all the time and they both know I was excited to get mine? I'm young when we started talking about it, around 7 or 8 years old. I find a book in my sister's room called It's Perfectly Normal. In the book, a bird and a bee offer their thoughts and comments as a narrator explains the human body and the changes it goes through as you get older. The bee character acts grossed out and hates learning about periods, sex, and bodily anatomy. But as the story goes on, the bee's opinions start to change. The bird helps the bee to realize that learning about our bodies isn't gross. It's, just like the book says, perfectly normal. With the help of these characters, I learned so much about my own body and what it goes through during puberty, as well as what a man's body goes through. Unlike the bee character, none of the stuff in the book grosses me out. That's because there's never any stigma in my family surrounding periods. My 2 older sisters aren't afraid to talk openly about their periods, complaining to me when they get it. I ask them tons of questions. They even draw me diagrams, pointing out different parts of the uterus, explaining what they do. They even show me what happens when a tampon is put in water. My dad is never grossed out or embarrassed about period products. He happily picks up pads for my sisters when he runs to the store, even if he gets a little confused and needs help picking them out the right ones. I'm fascinated by it all. One time, I even asked my mom if I could put on a pad for practice. But really, I just want to know what it feels like. I'm excited to get my period, and I'm convinced I'll get it soon. And yet, despite everything I'm taught by my family, when I finally do get my period in 7th grade, why am I completely unprepared? Thinking back on it, I think it's because even though periods aren't taboo in my household and I'm educated on the topic, society has made it hard to hold on to what my family has taught me. Like in 4th grade. My teacher tells my class that they are separating the boys and the girls so that we could all watch a video about our bodies. In our video, people talk about how our bodies change and that everyone is different. At one point in the movie, a cartoon of the female body appears. It's nothing like the detailed, informative drawings in It's Perfectly Normal. Instead, it's a strange blue figure that looks more like a silhouette of a woman than a realistic figure. At that point in the movie, I turn around and see another girl in my class looking absolutely disgusted by it. She's crazy, I think. I mean, how can someone be so disgusted by something so normal? As the video goes on, I begin to wonder what it's going to be like when we finally get to the part about periods. Except, that part never comes. The video stops working. Instead, the school nurse talks to us very briefly about periods and shows us, very poorly, how to put on a pad. Then, I kid you not, the nurse tells us not to use tampons. Even at 9 years old, I was raging on the inside. I mean, what? I think about how this type of misinformation could cause someone who could really benefit from using tampons to never use them. I am so thankful for all the work my family put into preparing me for my period, even if I still got embarrassed when I got it. Now that I'm a part of the Period Power Club, I'm reminded why it's so important to end stigma and shame around periods. I have the ability to help other women feel okay about getting their periods. Just like the bird and the bee taught me, I hope by telling my story, I can let others know periods are perfectly normal.
All right, next to the stage, we have Rebecca Seavey. One thing you can't tell by looking at her, and I know this by now, is her career goal is to help as many children and families as possible as a social worker. Again, she's totally going to do it. Welcome to the stage, Rebecca.
I'm a senior in high school, working 2 jobs and trying my best to manage, but I'm not managing well. I'm overwhelmed, exhausted, and not tending to my own personal issues outside of school and work. I'm already exhausted as I clock in at the coffee shop where I work. I didn't get much sleep last night. My period is heavy and I'm having severe cramping. I desperately try to chug along, despite the pain and excessive bleeding. Before I know it, the pain catches up with me. Everything goes black, and I start to lose grip on reality. I faint while in the middle of helping a customer. As I come to, I lay on the cold floor, scared and confused, and bleeding from a crack in my head. I am so embarrassed. There's coffee and blood everywhere. My coworkers call my dad and 911, and I'm brought to the hospital. As my dad rushes me to the ambulance, I think, what just happened to me? I don't have a good frame of reference for what I've just experienced because nobody properly taught me about how my period can affect my body. Looking back now, there were many warning signs leading up to this moment. Like when I was 12 years old and on my period and in excruciating pain. I only just started getting my period last year. Nobody taught me about the physical pain that comes with it. I certainly didn't learn anything when my teachers gathered me and my other prepubescent classmates to watch the video last year. No, that just made us all feel even more awkward because the teachers had such weird vibes about it, and the boys kept making jokes after they returned from watching their video, which didn't even mention periods. And I'm home alone. My mom works 2 jobs, so she's not around much, and my dad doesn't know anything about periods. And even if he did, they make him very uncomfortable, so he doesn't talk about them. Ever since I started my period, I've had a heavy flow and pain that was so bad it would keep me up at night. I've tried everything to relieve the pain. Painkillers, homeopathic remedies. Even one time I made my mom and little brother walk on my back as I laid in the middle of the living room floor. All I can do is take some Midol, throw in a heating pad, and try my best to power through. It happens again in 10th grade biology class. My teacher looks at me in a panic. "You look pale," she says. "You need to go to the nurse." This is my first time of many when my period would affect my schooling. I get used to having to leave early and staying home from school entirely due to the pain. Now, in the ambulance, I look back at all these moments where my heavy flow has caused me stress and pain, while I throw up into a bucket due to the concussion I just suffered. The EMTs are sweet and kind as they try to help me. I'm scared, but I finally feel like I'm being taken care of. I feel like I'm being listened to. My best friends and family come to stay with me at the hospital. The doctors run every kind of test and keep me overnight to continue to monitor me and get to the bottom of what's going on. As I sleeplessly listen to the hospital machines beep, beep, beep all night long, I look over at my mom, who was sleeping in a chair next to me. I can't help but think, why wasn't I prepared for this? The first time I got to my period, much to my dismay, my mom celebrated it. It was a summer day, and I was devastated to see the brown stain in my underwear. I don't want to get my period, I told her. I'm not ready. My mom starts calling all of my relatives, exclaiming with joy, "My daughter's a woman now." My mom is crying too, but hers are tears of joy. She's not seeing me or acknowledging what I'm going through. She doesn't teach me about the different ways my period can affect my body. And she doesn't mention to me until I'm much, much older that she used to have the same type of pain when she was a kid. I guess it takes me cracking my head open to get any answers, but I finally get them. The next morning, the doctor gives me the prognosis. I'm losing way too much blood from my period, and the pain is causing my body to be exhausted. I'm offered the option to go on birth control to help regulate my periods, which will help regulate the bleeding and the pain. I'm so relieved to finally have answers and something that can actually help. Before I fainted, I never even thought about birth control as an option. In my conservative household, birth control is linked to promiscuity, and my parents are against it, even if it is a life-changing menstrual tool. This is where I start my journey in advocating for more education around menstruation. I fight for myself and get on birth control, even though it opens me up to comments and judgments from my family. After a while, they start to see the amazing results as I improve. I am now able to have healthy, mild, and normal periods without any trips to the ER. It's hard for my family to argue because they love me and they're happy to see me getting better. Today, I am grateful to stand here as an adult with access to a gynecologist, a birth control prescription, and no more pain. These are issues I have not reflected on in years, but I'm happy to tell my story alongside students who are going to help make sure no one feels as helpless as I did when I was their age. Hopefully, if we are all as committed as these youth activists to ending period stigma, we can create a future where no one has to be unnecessarily hospitalized to receive proper period care ever again.
Rebecca, thank you for your story. Our next storyteller is Denala Henry. And one thing you might not see looking at Denala is she loves to travel with her family. Let's welcome Denala.
I'm in the South with my mom visiting her friend's family. When I get my period for the first time, I spend the whole day thinking that I've just cut myself. It's not until we're in some weird store, walking down the feminine aisle, I suddenly realize what's happening. I think I just got my period. I blurt it out to my mom's friend. Her eyes get wide and she runs to find my mother. That night, I stayed up late with my mom, her friend, and my older cousin, learning some of the do's and don'ts of my period. Things like, my cousin says, do know your limit when working out or playing sports. My mom's friend says, do know that you can tell somebody if you're in pain. My mom says, do know you can take a pill to ease the pain. Then there's the don'ts. Don't leave used pads open. Wrap them up and throw them away. Don't feel or act weird around people who don't understand your pain, aka guys. Don't forget to change your pads or tampon. Don't forget to restock your period products, even when they're only half gone. It doesn't matter, do it. Don't forget to wear shorts under your good/bad clothes. Don't let a teacher deny your request to use the bathroom. Don't eat ice cream or unhealthy foods. Trust me, we don't listen to that one. Learning the do's and don'ts is the fun part of the day. The hard part is having to take a plane back home. The next morning, I lay on my bed, staring up on the ceiling. I don't know what to do with all these new emotions and feelings playing out in my body. All I want to do is go home. My mom's friend keeps knocking on my door, asking if I'm ready. I just want to scream. On the way to the airport, I think about how my dog is probably misbehaving back home. As I try to distract myself from the intense pain as we hit one pothole after another. The car swerves into the parking lot, and I swerve back into the strange new reality of my body. A few months after I get my period, I'm in the middle school bathroom when an older girl asks me for a menstrual product. I sign T or P with my hands, trying not to share her business by asking out loud. I'm surprised when she answers T. I didn't think that people actually use tampons. I thought he just said that to be different. After drying off my hands, I give her the tampon and walk out of the bathroom. I feel enlightened by the new information, and I'm thrilled. This is the first time I'm not the one asking the questions. This is the first time someone asks me for their help with their period. This is the first time I've ever been acknowledged as a woman.
Amazing, Nala, thank you. Next to the stage, we have Dominique Campbell. One thing you can't tell by looking at Dominique is she is obsessed with all things water, which I love. Welcome, Dominique.
For my birthday, my family's going to Zoom Flume. I'm so excited, and I've even planned out my outfit in advance. But 3 days before the celebration, my little world of happiness is deflated when I go to the bathroom and see blood on my underwear. Come on, you've got to be kidding me, I think. Cue the eye roll and a slight bit of panic. But nope, my body is not kidding. Now I'm mad. How dare my period interfere with my plans to go swimming? I do everything I can think of to make my period hurry up and finish. I drink extra water, more than the recommended 8 glasses a day. I exercise and I stretch. For the next 2 days, I go to bed earlier than usual. Will it work? The night before my birthday, I have an amazing slumber party with my sisters and my cousins. The next morning, I wake up a year older. I am now 13. I breathe in the morning air, feeling happy and content. Then I remember, am I still in my period? I rush to my bathroom and examine my underwear. There's the tiniest of red dots on my underwear. Not a lot, but it's still there. Downstairs, my family is getting ready for our amazing day at Zoom Flume. We're not going to Zoom Flume anymore, my sister Shakina tells me. We're going to Six Flags instead. Oh, okay. Cool, I don't have to worry as much because Six Flags has more than water rides. But wait, there's a pool and I want to get in it. I'm still in my period and I want to go in the pool, I announce. Use a tampon, my mom says. Great idea, but oh Lord. I've never used a tampon before. I go inside my mom's bathroom, grab a tampon, take off the wrapper, and pop a squat. The window is cracked and the bathroom is freezing. Ma, I yell, but of course she can't hear me because the house is loud, full of girls. Guys, I yell to anybody that can possibly hear me. Still no response. I guess I'm doing this on my own. I attempt to insert the tampon in from different angles. I know it's a regular sized tampon, but dang, this thing seems huge. It's not working, this stupid thing hurts. I pull it out, and that hurts too. You good in there? My mom calls. Oh, so now you want to respond, huh? Mom, how do you put in a tampon because it's not working? I call back. I'm starting to get annoyed. Sit on the toilet and angle the tampon towards your belly button. The string should fall towards the back. And remember to breathe. Smell the roses and blow your candle. That's what my grandma taught me. Thanks, Mom. I throw away the first tampon, then try again with a new one. I angle it towards my belly, smell the roses, and blow out my candle. It's not going in properly and it hurts, but I force it in anyway. I exit the bathroom, walking weirdly. My body is tense, my shoulders hunched, and I can't separate my legs too far. I feel like a penguin. Yeah, you got it, my sister Shakina yells, clapping her hands. I don't know how you guys wear these things, I say. Is it comfortable? My sister Destiny asks. Right, you shouldn't feel it, my sister Shakina says. I look at them like they lost their minds. I do feel it, and it hurts. There's hardly any blood. It's probably your last day, and you don't need a tampon. Why didn't you mention that, Shakina says. I don't know. Well, go take it out, my cousin says. I take the walk of shame back into the bathroom and pull the tampon out. Pulling it out for a second time is way more painful than the first. Thankfully, it does come out. Back in the kitchen with everyone, all I can do is laugh at the whole thing. So does my family, but I can't tell if they're laughing with me or if they're laughing at me. Turns out my period was already over. Oops. Maybe the exercises, stretching, sleeping, and water did help after all. Anywho, it all turned out fine, and I had an awesome birthday at Six Flags.
Thank you, Dominique, for your story. Our next storyteller, Ramai Blue, is somebody who has a large collection of Hot Wheels, and you would never guess it. Let's welcome Ramai.
What's up, everyone? It's your boy, Ramai. I'm here to tell you a tale from when I was just a young buck so you can learn from my mistakes. It all starts when I'm 6 years old and my mom and my grandpa pick me up from my soccer practice. I'm exhausted, but my mom tells me to go and stop by the grocery store and get some food for dinner. It's not exactly how I want to spend my night, but I'm not the one driving. Usually I hang out in the car while my mom shops, but today I have no phone, I have no entertainment, and my mom always takes forever in the store. Like, bro. I don't know about you, but sitting in the car with no entertainment except my grandpa going on and on about my mom taking long in the store doesn't exactly sound like a good time. So I bite the bullet and go inside with my mom. The minute we start shopping, I know something's off with my mom. As she grabs a cart on the way in, I make my way to the claw machine at the front of the store. Sometimes my mom will give me $1 to play with the machine. Sometimes I'm hopping over and around long enough hope my mom will let me, give me $1. Nope, not today. She doesn't even acknowledge me as she pushes the cart further into the store. Not wanting to get on her bad side, I follow her, leaving the idea of trying my luck with the claw machine. As we go up and down the aisles, we eventually end up on the most boring part of the store, the pharmacy. The only good part, the pharmacy is right next to the best part, the kids section. As we walk by the section, there it is, my hopes and dreams. I see an entire section of my favorite toy, Hot Wheels. I run up to the display, taking stock of all the different cars, looking for one that I didn't already have. I look over at my mom, try to get a feel for if she's let me get one. But she just stares me down. She doesn't say I can't get one though, so I assume it's okay to keep looking. Then I see it, the coolest car ever. It's a bright green color, and it looks like a praying mantis. It changes color in the water, best part. And you can take it apart like a transformer. To a young buck like me, discovering a Hot Wheel this cool is like discovering gold. And it's only $1. Sure, my mom would let me get it, right? Right? As soon as I pick up the car, I hear my mom's voice all over me, angry. Don't touch it because you're not gonna get it. Okay, everyone. This is where things get really sticky for your boy. So listen closely and learn. I'm sure my mom was walking past the aisle so she can have a reason to yell at me. She's been in a mood ever since she picked me up from soccer practice. Maybe she's just trying to take out her bad mood on me. Why would she let me look at it but not let me get it? I mean, come on, that's just cruel. I beg her to let me get it, and we go back and forth in the middle of the store. It's clear, it's still a forcibly no. Why is getting a Hot Wheel such a problem? I ask myself, since she's always allowed me to get one every other time I stop with her. First the claw machine, now this? What's going on with my mom? My 6-year-old brain starts cranking it to the max. And I rack my brain for what could have her in such a mood. Suddenly, I have a revelation. There's only one thing my mom has mentioned in the past that could lead her to have such a bad mood for no reason. Her period. I want to get to the bottom of this, and I really want my green car, okay? So I asked her the big question, Mom, are you on your period? Is that why you're so cranky? This is a bad move for the young buck. She tells me, do you want to be grounded? I know what's good for me, so I let it go. As we continue to the shop, though, my mom is still angry. As we check out, she's angry. You guess it. The car ride home was no better. Luckily, my grandpa was playing one of my favorite songs he introduced to me, Black and Yellow. Y'all know that one? So let's try to tune into the music and forget about the whole thing. As we get home, my mom starts putting away the groceries. All I can think about is I'm definitely taking the grounding. I hate being grounded. When I'm grounded, I'm stuck in my room with my brother who's always watching this weird video or ad, something. All I can think about is how unfair it is. I didn't do anything wrong. Why am I being punished for my mom's bad mood? It's not my fault she's on her period. Fast forward to today. Looking back, it's clear to me as a young buck, I didn't understand why my mom was so upset what I did. All I knew at the time was that I had disrespected her and I had a punishment coming. I can see how my comment could have made my mom feel hurt. I understand that she's probably going through a lot with cramping, hormones, and so many other things out of her control. I think more men should become educated about periods. If I had known what I know now, I would have never said what I said to my mom that day. I'm glad I'm more educated on the subject now so I can be more compassionate and respectful to the people in my life when they get their periods. So come on, man, listen to your young boy and join me. It's the least we can do so the young bucks like me can always have their Hot Wheels and our moms can know we're always in their corner. Love you, Mom. Thank you.
Sorry to put you on blast, Mom. Next to the stage is Katie Samadova. One thing you can't tell by looking at her is she is an all-state marimbist. Give it up for Katie.
Science and logic. Science makes the world go round. Science is medicine. My mom and her parents are all doctors. Growing up in such an intellectual household, information was given with scientific accuracy and a cold delivery. My grandma was an OBGYN in the former Soviet Union. She would share her stories in sometimes graphic detail. It desensitized me. I don't care about blood, and I'm probably more medically qualified than most school nurses. I knew about periods over a year before I got mine. I wasn't scared or confused. I knew what it was and the anatomical function of it. Science and logic. When I first got my period, I was at my grandparents' house where I live. I was wearing black and white striped pajamas. I woke up, looked down, and saw blood. I calmly find my mom. She showed me how to wash out the blood and put on a pad. No panic, no stress. It isn't scary, it's life. It's just how it is now, and that's okay. I'll deal with it. Science and logic. But there were still some things that caught me by surprise. It's my first year in high school band, and I'm on xylophone. Music has always been my safe space, but I'm not always confident in my own abilities. Fake it till you make it. That's what people say, and hey, it seems logical, so that's what I do. I've always been an anxious child. I never slept alone. I needed music and sound. As I grew up, my anxiety manifested in different ways, but somehow, never in performance. I could go on stage and perform in front of the entire school without trouble. But now, I'm having a hard time faking it until I make it. I'm comparing my mallet playing to my classmates who have years of experience. I feel like I'm not living up to their legacy. During my first state championship, my band only comes in 7th place. I'm crushed. I hate the feeling, and I'm determined to do better next time we perform. I love band, and I don't want my lack of confidence to ruin it for me. Between state championships and my next performance, I take time to learn and improve. I work hard at my skill, and it pays off. I finally start feeling like a true musician. My skills only increase over the course of the year, and by the end of it, I'm at an all-state level, the highest you can achieve. Now, I'm a senior. It's my final year in band. I've become a mentor. I care for the underclassmen and have become what we in band call their pit parent. I feel like I'm finally confident in my abilities. 4 days before my final state championships at Syracuse, however, it all comes crashing down. I'm sitting with my section in the band room preparing for the long weekend of performances ahead. My phone buzzes. I see that my best friend texted me. We end up getting into a huge fight. I do my best to carry on with the day and ignore the text, but I'm crushed. As the day goes on, my stomach really starts hurting. I go to the bathroom and see that my period has started almost an entire week early. The gravity of the situation starts to set in. That night, I cry myself to sleep. Even though the last thing I want to do is get out of bed, I force myself to go to school the next day. I have to be at practice for my bandmates. Championships are in 3 days, but all I can think about is how betrayed I feel. The bell rings, signaling the beginning of lunch. As I gather my things, I feel my pulse start to quicken and become deafening. I'm not okay. My anxiety is coming at me in full force. I stagger through the crowded hallway to get to the orchestra room. I always eat lunch in the orchestra room instead of the cafeteria. It's peaceful there, and now more than ever, I need that sense of peace. As my friends practice, I completely zone out. I can't stop thinking that if I weren't so stressed out, maybe I wouldn't have my period early. Something like this has never happened to me before. I have medications that regulate my menstrual cycle. Before now, I didn't know stress could cause periods to come early. It was jarring and scary. I'm so worried that getting my period early is going to ruin the entire experience of my last championship performance. I have an overwhelming urge to cry, but I can't let myself be vulnerable in front of my friends. I have my pit parent reputation to maintain. I'm a leader, a musician. Crying isn't metal, and I love metal. I can't hold it in anymore. I step outside the room and let a few tears fall. My stomach hurts. I can't tell if it's from cramps or anxiety. I can't stop thinking this is all my friend's fault. They ruined everything. After school, I have my band meeting where we do all of the yearly traditions that come before the championship, including the yearly talent show. I've been dreading the evening all day because I'm convinced with everything going on, I won't be able to be present and have a good time. All of my other bandmates help me to focus on having a good time, though. We play games and hang out and put on a killer talent show performance. With the support of my friends, I feel more prepared when I wake up on championship day. I board the bus, and to my surprise, the ride to championships is actually pretty great too. I enjoy spending time with all of my other friends. The next day, there are so many emotions. My friends keep my spirits up. We have a fantastic lunch where we ride the carousel together in the mall food court. And then, it's the moment I've been waiting for. Time for our final performance, and I kill it. Sure, we come in 7th place overall again, but we get 1st place in another category. I'm overwhelmed by my feelings of success. I feel so supported by all of my other bandmates. It's been a crazy senior year. I know at graduation, I'll have a lot of knowledge to look back on. I learned that I deserve respect and that I can choose my friends. Getting my period early made me realize that other people aren't worth the stress. I should never let anyone have so much influence over my mental health to the point that they cause a change in my menstrual cycle. I also learned that my body responds to stress differently. People can get periods early or skip periods altogether because of stress. If I wasn't a part of Period Power Club where I was able to talk openly about my period without fear of being stigmatized, I don't know if all of these lessons would have been the ones I was willing to learn. Maybe, most important of all, I learned to listen to my body. It isn't all just science and logic. Our menstrual cycles and mental health are far more interconnected than I thought. Now, I know I'm graduating wiser, and while I might not be a pit parent anymore, I know I can help others realize their worth, like my band and Period Power Club helped me realize mine.
Get it, Kat. Our next storyteller, Michaela Leon. One thing you might not know looking at Michaela is she loves Legos. Let's welcome Michaela.
Dear body, hey, how are you? I just wanted to take a few minutes to tell you how much I appreciate you and share a few things. In case it isn't clear, you are my home, you are my fortress, my safe haven. Others may call you my body, but I think you deserve a different word. I don't know what it is yet, but you are exquisite, and I think the word should be more special than just body. Unfortunately, dear body, I don't treat you great all the time. You annoy me when I look at you too hard and your skinniness becomes more apparent. You annoy me when you hurt because I feel it too. I dump my issues onto you by shaming you, feeding you things that don't make you feel good, and not caring for you the way I should. But I love you for so many reasons. I appreciate being multiracial, though it can be a struggle at times. I'm a mixed-race Black person, and when someone asks me what my ethnicity is, I always say Black first because I identify most with my Blackness. I mainly live with my mother and brother, who are Black. I use slang sometimes. I dress in baggy clothes sometimes. I listen to rap sometimes. I find it hard to define what being Black means to me. It absolutely hurts me to admit that I've let society shape the way I see my own people. I catch myself thinking of the negative labels attached to Black people and tell myself that I wouldn't want to associate myself with a certain behavior. I associate the way I dress with non-Blackness. I associate the way I speak with non-Blackness. I associate so many attributes of myself and my life to non-Blackness. So why do I still feel that I am Black? Maybe it's because despite all the stereotypes imposed on Black identity in this country, I still love being Black and being raised around Black culture. It's the same for the way I used to feel about my period. I used to think that I hated it. Sure, I get it every month in random places at random times, and it's ridiculously inconvenient. About half of my underwear are stained with period blood. Walking around with a pad in public feels like I'm announcing that I'm on my period. But my period isn't heavy, and I rarely get cramps. I've started to realize that it's not my period that I dislike. It's the negative attitudes and behaviors from non-menstruators that I have ill will towards. Body, I know you feel as if you are a burden to me, and I understand why you feel that way. I've let non-menstruators' judgment influence how I treat you. I've received so many messages about period blood being disgusting. No one else accepts you in my life. Sometimes I question why I accept you in my life. But the answer is that I need you to function. I need you to maintain and sustain my being, mentally and physically. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to have this common ground with 1.8 billion people around the world who also have a body that menstruates. Also, my period is literally connected to the moon cycles, and that's wild. I give my deepest thanks to you for helping me learn how to control my emotions when they're so strong that I feel helpless. Every time you bring me pain, every time you hurt me, I grow stronger and more relentless than before. Dear body, I'm sure you aren't absorbing everything that I'm saying right now, but the gist of it is that I truly do love you. I'm sorry that I cannot make a solid promise that I will always treat you with kindness and care in the future, but I hope you understand that flaws take time to edit, and I will try my best to act on my love and respect for you. I may sound like a manipulative boyfriend, but I do care. And one day, you'll be accepted. I promise you. I'm doing everything I can to make sure of it. Love always, your favorite human.
Is this on? Can I just get one more round of applause for all of these amazing storytellers? I love it. I'm just gonna stay down here while they rock it. So I just wanna say working with these students I gotta get up here, I'm too short for this, sorry. Working with these students has revitalized me. They give me hope for the future. So while they set up for their Q&A, I just want to take a moment to tell you about what we have in store and give you the opportunity to join us in supporting them. So right now, TMI Project is currently fundraising $20,000 for our 2024 Stories for Choice programming. Your donation helps make the Period Power Club goals I talked to you about a reality, alongside all of our other reproductive justice programming. If you want to take a look at that, go to our website. We have so much. You are all welcome to take out your phones right now and scan the QR code on the screen behind me. Duck down, Nala. We can't, go in front of that. And donate. So those in person are also welcome to donate at the check-in table, and our online audience, hello, can click on the link in the chat or go to tmiproject.org/support stories for choice. Again, that is tmiproject.org/stories for choice. No amount is too small or too big. And with that, let's get started with our Q&A. So I just want to go over how our Q&A is going to work here. Dara and I are going to run it for you. We have Blake in the audience running a mic. The way it works is you can ask our storytellers anything you want. Nothing is off limits. However, they reserve the right to not answer anything that they don't want to. So feel free to ask anything, but don't get offended if they don't answer, because they have the right to just not answer anything. Also, I just want to say our Q&A, we're going to keep it short and tight. We got 10 minutes. So while I would love to hear all of your stories, let's try to keep it to questions or very, very brief comments. If you want to tell your story, take a workshop. We're happy to run one for you. So to get that started, let me get off the stage. Does anybody have a question to start us off? We got one.
Oh, hi. The young man who shared his story, which I thought was really, really awesome. First of all, everybody was incredible. But I wanted to hear, I was so surprised to have a man speaking, and I wanted to hear your involvement with Period Power and why you decided to join everybody with TMI to tell your story regarding periods.
Okay. Oh, all right. Well, actually, I started because of my girlfriend, Zaija, who...
Yeah!
I would walk her to the Period Power like every single day. And, you know, I just chilled in there, too, because they were friendly and nice to me. I was like, chill place. And so Zaija asked me if I wanted to join, and I didn't really think about it. I was like, yeah, what? Instantaneously. And then afterwards, I started thinking about it a little more. I'm like, this seems a little crazy. But, sorry. First, I was like, I was low-key getting a little influenced by my other friends. I was like, what if they dive? Dang, it's just one guy with a bunch of girls for a Period Power group. And I was thinking yeah, that is low-key crazy. But that just seemed ridiculous to even make that a reason. And it just didn't seem it just wasn't important enough to let this go. It seemed important. So I decided to keep on going with it.
Thanks for mine. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, we got one.
That was amazing. Thank you, all of you. And Tina, you're just incredible, the work you're doing. I have a junior at Kingston High School, and I was just wondering, with the new principal there, are you guys feeling more supported in what you're doing?
I think we can all say yes. We love Dr. Skorka. She is an amazing principal. We feel very supported.
That's awesome. Also, I am a donor to TMI Project, and I encourage everyone else to donate, but I'm also curious if you all are taking donations, if you need financial support. Yes.
We always need financial support. We also take donations of period products, so pads, tampons, cups, panties. We'll take it all.
We like it.
We like it. We like it a lot.
I'll also say they do also have a table out front as well. So just on your way out, just stop by both of them. There's a lot of cool stuff there.
There's merch, too. So if you're like, you know what, I want to donate and I want some merch, then it's a great handoff.
Anybody else? We got one over. We got two. So we got 1, 2.
Oh, you.
That one.
So I was just curious about the young buck. And, menstruators are often women. Sometimes they're trans men. Sometimes they're non-binary people. But in this conversation, what comes up that when I've talked to some of the Period Power crew is where are the men in the support of this? Why are the boys being separated from the girls? And I just wondered, where do you have pals here tonight supporting you, or what does your crew think about you doing this? And do you think that they might want to join the cause? Tell me a little bit about that.
I don't know if they would join the cause, and no, I don't have any of my subordinates here. Yeah, y'all just get it? Y'all just got it? You know what I'm saying? I'm a leader. No, I haven't told anybody that I'm part of the group, but...
That's the next step.
Yeah, I should probably do that. Yeah,
Yeah, and then we go for it.
Okay. My question is, in New York State, what is the curriculum in the health department, in the PE department, wherever it would lie, for males learning about menstrual cycles? And also for, obviously this was many, many years ago when I was taught about it, but it was never connected to reproduction. It was just always this isolated event will happen to you, and good luck. And in fact, I thought I bled through my belly button, and that obviously didn't happen. But so that connection was not made, and I'm wondering in the curriculum if they do now make the connection to your overall reproductive system.
Do you want to? Yeah. You both had health recently. Yeah, go for it.
So, from my experience, at least, in the high school, they don't even touch on menstruation as a subject, at least they didn't in my class. They only spoke about the reproductive aspect of women's anatomy. And on top of that, they only talked about what's inside and nothing about what's outside. A lot of guys don't know that there's multiple holes.
Holes? There's holes?
So I took health class, I think, last year. We talked about literally everything, like abstinence and drugs and all of this stuff. And then, yeah, we also barely touched on menstruation. We built a uterus out of blocks, though, so that was fun.
Legos?
Yeah, like blocks. But we barely touched on menstruation, and even in middle school, it was essentially the same thing. So it's just disappointing because, of course, we're in high school and you'd expect more information on that. But the fact that there's a lacking of that in the course is just concerning. So.
I just want to add, because I am also a graduate of Kingston High School in and I remember taking health, and the literal only thing I remember from health is, I was one of the only out gay people at that time. Not a word was said about it. And the only thing that got even close was I remember the teacher saying, "Don't have sex. If you do, you will get AIDS and you will die." That was a teacher at Kingston High School. So we need y'all. Do we have any other questions? Yes, we do.
Hi. This was, first of all, fantastic, and for a woman who grew up in the 80s, kind of mind-blowing. So on that, I got my period when I was about 7.5, 8. And I share that because I'd like to hear from the women. There was this whole thing about being too young, too old, the right age, the wrong age. You got it, I didn't. When are you getting it? How much? And it kind of, the idea of women competing against one another starts, I think, there. And I think I want to hear from the girls who got it young, who got it middle, who got it older, and how did you navigate that first stage when you really are dealing with this in the first stage of this, and how it made you feel? Big question, but so be it.
I remember, when I first got it, I didn't really know what it was, but when my mom actually did, explain that I got my period, she was like, "Oh, it's a little early, but, all the women in her family, her side of the family, they all got it, really young." So she wasn't exactly surprised by it. She was just like, "I wish you had told me earlier." But yeah, she just told me that now I developed faster, and now I have to be a woman. I have to, I have to step up more. I have to do this, and it was like she treated me as if I was somehow different from all the other girls, and that I now had so many more responsibilities and all these other things.
Just to mention this too, because for me, I got my period when it was quarantine, which was 2020, and I was in 8th grade, I'm pretty sure. 8th grade. And for me, that was late getting it. And so going through middle school, I felt like, I remember I was always telling my friends, because they were like, "Oh yeah, I got my period and I'm so stressed out about it." And I'm like, when is it gonna happen to me? And I think there's just this there's one side where it's like, well, I don't want to have this because it just sounds terrible, to like, well, when am I gonna get this and experience that womanhood, right? So that was just my experience, but I don't know.
Anybody else?
I remember not feeling comfortable talking about my period with other kids, but I do remember that I was among the first in my class to get it. And I went to a Catholic school at the time, and it wasn't really something that was touched upon. And when I started middle school in the Catholic school here, I remember our health class consisted of learning how to be friends with each other. That was our health class. Yeah, so it wasn't really openly talked about. I don't remember having even like places to throw away our menstrual products in the restrooms. Yeah, it's sort of really stigmatized, especially for little kids that get it.
Yeah, I think we have a question from the online audience.
We do.
Yeah.
So this is from Maureen, and Maureen says, being an activist around stigmatized issues takes a lot of courage, and I am so grateful for all of you. How do the other students at the high school react to your work, and do you experience stigma as students bringing attention to this critical issue?
We have a thing called morning announcements. So most of the time we'll like explain what we do through morning announcements or different posters around the school. Me personally, they might feel differently, but I feel that most of the other students at our school don't really pay attention to it. I feel like they appreciate having the menstrual products, but like they're still kind of ashamed of it. They like hide it in their pockets when they go to the bathroom, or like sometimes they just mistreat the products entirely. But
I'll talk on that real quick too. I think since starting this club in the beginning, it was like, can you move your period products inside your room? And I'm like, no, I mean, like they just need to be accessible to everyone. And at one point, some of the students, when we did get the free products, they're the crappy products. We want them to be replaced. Those products were being taken out and like taped to the doors. And like, hey, somebody vandalized the bathroom today. Was that your period power crew? No, like my students would never vandalize the bathrooms, and you shouldn't accuse them of that. But also, this is a message from your students, and they're telling you they don't want these products in the bathroom. That's their way of telling you what they need. And so throughout this last 3 years, we've been around for 3 years. And in the beginning, kids wouldn't really take the stuff out of my basket. They'd come in and go, can I get some period products? Like, yeah, they're right there. No, but like, do you have any in here? So it's now become a little bit more accessible to students. And we hear boys going like, hey, bro, you need a tampon? And for me, I'm like, that's progress, right? Because that kid in the hallway is asking for a tampon, and he's sharing the word. So thank you, bud.
I still do see a lot of guys, and you know the kind of guys I'm talking about in my school, where they're like, ew, periods. I know a lot of people, when they try to like bring it up, especially people who support us, they get a lot of pushback from guys. I know that I've seen firsthand guys talk about our club, like they don't realize that I'm in it, and so they say certain things. And I'm also a part of the morning announcements, so it's really great. I love pushing for making sure that our announcements get on there, but I do know how people react to it. A lot of people are like, what the heck is this? Why do we have to hear about this, even though it is absolutely necessary?
I just wanted to quickly say, because something happened today. It was my friend who is a menstruator. I was helping organize her bag, and I pulled out a pad from her bag, and she was like, she grabbed it immediately, and she stuffed it right back into her bag, and she said, I know you're a part of, the Period Power Club, but like, I don't really feel comfortable showing my pad in public. And I just thought it was really disappointing, because I think, of course, everything we do as a club is, great, and it's really important, and we're helping people, but it's sad that there's still so many people who are menstruators who are scared of those little things of like, and even people asking me, hey, can you hold my pad for me? Because I don't want to hold it and make people know that I'm on my period. And it's just crazy.
I think we have time for one or two more questions. We have one here. And we have one here.
I need
Yeah.
about a microphone, I think. And this is for Tina. Have you been successful in spreading this to other school districts around the county?
No, not yet. We're working on it. I think our work with TMI Project, our plan is to really roll out a blueprint for other schools. New York State is required to have free products in now public and private schools as of a few weeks ago with Governor Hochul's new laws.
Yeah.
So New York is really coming far, and Kingston School District has really supported us doing this work. And we want to continue our partnership with TMI to roll out our podcast and a book and a blueprint for other schools across our nation. And really, we all just want to travel around. We are working with Women Across Time. That's an English class. We're going to call it Periods Across Time. And we're really going to discuss what periods looked like back in the day of Elle Needham's class book assignments. And we're going to go into our middle schools. And we want to have a peer-to-peer conversation and discussion. And we are gaining some momentum with some of the young boys at Kingston High School because we have a few that are interested in testing out some of our products. Let's find out what chemicals are in these products that we're provided. And as we know, the FDA doesn't regulate those things. So we're going a little hard on this.
At least not as much as they should.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention that Governor Hochul also added to the law that menstrual products will be referred to as menstrual products in a professional setting and not as feminine hygiene products in order to be more inclusive.
We have one question over here. Yep, right here. You got it.
Hi, I just wanted to say from the first time that I sat in on one of these meetings till now, it's actually amazing as a parent and also to be a parent of one of the students on the board. I don't know what you want to call it, but
Our treasurer.
oh, awesome. I didn't even know that, see? But I went to different places and I've seen you guys' little boxes or whatever. I mean, some of them is like, oh, people are really ridiculous. But in other places, I'm like, wow, you know, I went to Tilda's Kitchen. I was over somewhere on Broadway. And I'm like, wow, from the beginning of this to now, it has grown so much. And even as a parent, it has helped me to be able to talk more about it. Whereas when I was coming up, it was so much of a stigma, you know, oh, you got your menstrual, don't say nothing about it, you know, oh, you don't want to tell your parents or you don't want your friends to know. Whereas now it's like, you know, hey, I got my period, you know, I don't feel like being happy today, and it's okay. You don't have to feel bad about it. So I just want to stop to say you guys are doing a hell of a job.
Well, I think that's a great last question to end on. So just one more time. Oh, we
Can
got
I
Tina.
actually, I think Dawn is maybe here or has left, but Dawn from Place Corps set up those, that pantry at Tilda's. So Place Corps is a gap year program that is working towards also destigmatizing periods and providing pantries where you can drop off period pads in our community to make them more accessible.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out. I'm just gonna go right here. I'm just gonna stand under, you know, just for no reason. I'm just gonna stand right here and point up here. So if we want to help these students make all of this amazing stuff happen, well, you can do it. You can do it. So please donate. Thank you so much for coming out. Spread the word and have a great night, everyone.